In this video, we're going to discuss the midpoint of a segment. And a midpoint is exactly what it sounds like. It is the middle point in a segment. So if we wanted to draw a picture of this, I would draw a segment with two endpoints. And let's go ahead and add a point in the middle. Let's call it M. Since this is the midpoint, it is going to be in the center. So these two segments on either side of it are going to be congruent. Along with this, I also have a segment bisector, and a segment bisector is a line or a ray or a segment that is going to cut another segment in half. So if I had this segment, for example, I like to think of the segment bisector as like a knife. It's going to cut the segment directly in half at the midpoint. They're going to intersect at the midpoint because we know that two straight objects are going to intersect at a point. So this would be your segment bisector. This is a ray, and it's going to cut the segment in half. So very simply, if B is the midpoint and one of the segments is 5, that means the other half also equals 5. In this other question, 1/2 is 18, but it wants the entire length of the segment. So 2 times 18, or 18 plus 18, is going to be 36. And for the last example, the entire thing is 30. So if I cut it in half, I get 15 on both lengths of this segment. Of course, we're going to add some algebra in here. So if you have this segment and M is the midpoint, that is literally telling you that these two things are equal. They are the same. So the equation that I'm going to write is that x plus 9 is going to equal 4x. To solve this, I'm going to take away x on both sides. That leaves me with 9 equals 3x, and so x equals 3. Make sure you're reading the question. It wants to know what ln is, so I'm going to substitute it in. I'm going to get that half of it is 4 times 3, which is 12, so double 12 would be 20. The next question is very similar. I'm going to set x plus 20 equal to 5x minus 4. I'm going to move my x to the right-hand side and the 4 to the 20 and get x equals 6. Since it wants to know what AC equals, I'm going to substitute into this equation x plus 20, or the expression x plus 20. That's going to give me 26, and then I'm going to just double 26 to get 52. For the next question, you can go ahead and pause this and then unpause it when you're ready for the answer. So take a look, there's the work and the answer. For this next question, it says that if y is the midpoint of TW, so I'm going to draw a picture here of TW with y as the midpoint, and then very simply I'm going to take the expressions and put them on the line segment. Once I do this, I'm going to go ahead and set my two expressions equal to each other. 4x minus 4 equals 2x plus 8. Move the 2x to the left-hand side, move the 4 over, and you get x equals 6. The next one is another similar question where there's no diagram, but there's a little bit more to this question. So it says y is the midpoint of TW, and z is now in the middle of y and w. So in between y and w, I'm going to put the letter z. And now it's time to label yz with 2x minus 1, and this entire thing is going to equal 20. Now, there are a few ways that you can do this question, but I think the easiest thing to do is say that if y is in the middle of t and w, and this entire thing equals 20, then that means that distance from y to w is equal to 10. I just took 20 and cut it in half. Now, on YW, I can take that 10 and split it in half again to get 5 and 5. And so that's going to allow me to just very easily say that the expression 2x minus 1 equals 5, 2x is going to equal 6, and then x equals 3. I love a good factoring question. And so this one says that A is the midpoint of CB, and it gives me these two expressions, both of them with a squared in it. So I know this is probably going to be a quadratic. I'm going to set up my equation here and move everything to one side. So I'm going to take away x squared on both sides. I'm also going to take away 20 on both sides. That's going to leave me with 0 on the right. And on the left, I'm going to combine whatever like terms I can. So I'm going to have x squared from 2x squared minus x squared plus x minus 20. And so I'm looking for the factors of 20 that are 1 away from each other. It's not going to be 1 and 20. It's going to be 5 and 4. Now, I'm going to set this equal to 0 and solve for x. So I'm going to get two possible answers. X could equal -5 or x could equal +4. And just like in any factoring question in geometry, you have to make sure that your algebraic answers are going to make sense geometrically. And by that, I mean that you are going to plug these in and you should get positive values. So if I plug in -5, it's going to give me 45 as one answer. And if I plug in positive 4, it's going to give me 36. So both of these are valid answers to this question. The next question is a little harder. I'm giving you these two expressions. 2x minus 9 is going to equal 3x. And when you move everything to one side, you will soon realize that you cannot factor this right away into two sets of parentheses. You also don't have the option to take out a GCF. That would be nice. So what we have to do here is multiply the first and the last terms together to get negative 18. I'm then trying to figure out what are the factors of negative 18 that are going to combine together to give me negative 3. And the only options are negative 6 and positive 3. So I'm going to rewrite negative 3x as negative 6x plus 3x. The next thing I'm doing is bringing down the first and the last term. And now I can finally factor this by a method called grouping. So in order to factor by grouping, I'm going to factor out in the first two terms a 2x, that leaves me with x minus 3. And in the second two terms, I'm taking out a positive 3, also leaving me with x minus 3. That's how you know that you've done the factoring correctly, because your parentheses match. So one factor is going to be x minus 3. The other factor is going to be 2x plus 3. When I solve these, I'm going to get two answers, x equals 3 or x equals negative 3 over 2. Again, both valid algebraic answers. We have to see if they work geometrically. So I can see right away that if I do 3 times that negative fraction, I'm going to get a negative answer. And so I can't have negative distance, which means that I can only have x equals 3 as my answer, because that would give me 9. And that negative 3 over 2 in geometry is going to be an extraneous solution. So it works in algebra, but it does not work in geometry. I hope that this video was helpful for you. I do have other videos on Midpoint if you click on the playlist right here. That's all for this video. As always, if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit like and subscribe. You can find this resource along with many others on my Teachers Pay Teachers, which is Math with B.